Good afternoon and welcome to NCIA's Industry Essentials Educational Webinar Series, NCIA's premier digital educational platform featuring a variety of interactive programs to provide you and your team timely, engaging, and essential education when and where you need it most. My name is Brian Gilbert, the Deputy Director of Events and Education here at NCIA, and I'm very excited to welcome you all to this long-awaited edition of our Service Solutions series, with a session being presented by Aptean, who most of you should recognize as a recent supporter of our monthly Catalyst conversation and fireside chat programs as well. Now, let's get this show on the road. How can your business maximize yield, improve traceability, increase security, and more easily diversify to enhance revenue? In today's session entitled Capturing the $27 billion Market Opportunity in Legal Cannabis Manufacturing, presented by industry-leading cannabis technology company Aptean, we'll answer those questions by taking an in-depth look at the key obstacles standing between you and your profit margin. Along the way, their team will outline how you can break through operational barriers to increase productivity by taking a digital approach to manufacturing using new-to-market cannabis ERP software. We've got a great presentation lined up for you all and an amazing panel of experts to facilitate. So let's not waste any more time. To kick things off, I'd like to welcome our panel for today's session, Daniel Erickson, Senior Project Manager, as well as Amanda Schnettler, Senior Marketing Program Specialist from Aptean, to the virtual stage to kick things off with a quick introduction and outline of today's topic. Welcome to NCIA's Industry Essentials. Great to have you both here, Daniel and Amanda. You all can activate your video feeds, as just did, and cue yourselves up for an intro, and then we'll dive right into the program.
Thank you so much, Brian. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amanda Schnettler from Aptean, and we're really pleased to be a part of today's webinar presentation. We've been a proud member of the NCIA for many years under the Process Pro company name, and proud to continue our membership and sponsorship under our new Aptean name and company. Some of you may be familiar with Daniel Erickson, as he has been at NCIA shows in the past, and we are excited to announce that we will be exhibiting at the Cannabis Business Summit and Expo in December. Be sure to visit us at booth 913. And I will say, in order to help keep today's presentation interactive, we will be launching a few polls throughout. Appreciate your participation and love to get the dialogue started. And at this time, I'd love to turn it over to Daniel Erickson, Senior Product Manager.
Excellent. Thank you, Amanda. As Amanda mentioned, I have been in the industry for a number of years through Process Pro and now under Aptean. I look forward to walking us through the presentation today and the Q&A session at the end.
Fantastic. Well, we'll get the slide deck shared and we'll dive right into the presentation from here. Thank you so much, Amanda. Amanda's going to be leaving the stage and joining us again for the Q&A segment. But if you have any questions throughout today's program, please don't hesitate to ask her or Daniel via the chat room throughout. And with that, let's dive into today's program.
It's hard to think of a substance that's undergone a greater public transformation than cannabis. Once considered a bit of a gateway drug, it's now recognized in the treatment of medical and emotional conditions. And this shift in perception is creating a huge opportunity for the industry and related process manufacturers. Of course, many of you are well aware. Infinity Research has forecast that the legal cannabis manufacturing market will grow by $27 billion over the next 3 years. You heard that right, 3 years. And there are two critical factors accelerating this public appetite for legal cannabis products. The first driving force is the changing perception and relaxation of legislation around cannabis consumption. In 2021 alone, we've seen marijuana legalized in more US states, including Connecticut, New York, and Virginia, bringing the total number of states where cannabis is fully legal for both personal and medicinal consumption to 18. Looking globally, St. Lucia has decriminalized up to 30 grams of marijuana for adult consumption. Mexican lawmakers are discussing a regulated marijuana market. Switzerland has just announced a trial to buy cannabis products from pharmacies and social clubs in Zurich, its largest city. And Italy is now approaching a referendum to decriminalize growing and consuming cannabis. The second driving force is the global appetite for CBD products. According to Management Science Associates, almost a quarter of people in the US have now tried over-the-counter CBD products. And the global CBD market is predicted to grow from 9 billion in revenue in 2020 to more than 23 billion by 2025. And we're already seeing industry heavyweights responding to this growing appetite, for example, in recent months, in Molson Coors having partnered with Exocorp to launch a sparkling CBD water, and tobacco company Altria has filed patent applications for 2 types of cannabis vaporizer. Needless to say, legal cannabis and CBD products are a major growth market. But how can you, the manufacturer, profit in what is understandably a very complex, highly regulated industry? I now want to talk you through the 4 biggest challenges that manufacturers face trying to run cost-effective legal cannabis production. I also want to share guidance on how you can navigate these obstacles more effectively using the latest industry technology to manage and grow your profit margin in cannabis and CBD product manufacturing. Any product that involves ingredients grown from seed is always going to be more challenging to manage than a synthetic ingredient. Marijuana plants are incredibly sensitive, as you all know, and this volatility means crop yields can vary hugely. One bad crop can throw your entire supply chain out of sync. To mitigate the risks associated with legal cannabis manufacturing, you need to work closely with your team and suppliers to optimize the process, increasing the quality and consistency of your products. As the sector becomes more competitive, making supply chain and process improvements won't just support efficient operations, it will help to edge ahead of your rivals, which is what we're all trying to achieve. So how do we do this? One of the most effective ways to monitor and manage the supply chain closely is through cannabis ERP software. What is ERP? ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. ERP software has been around for some time, but it is only in recent years that some technology providers have moved into creating operational technologies specifically for the needs of the cannabis manufacturing. And now it's changing the game for companies like yours. As you know, there are so many factors that can impact the quality of cannabis yield. And we know quality is a big concern in this industry. Quality and consistency are very, very critical to all of us. Your role is to work with suppliers and your team to understand how each of these factors impacts the quality and quantity of marijuana produced, so you can optimize growing conditions in response. Cannabis ERP software supports this process because it enables you to manage, collect, collate, and analyze critical data throughout the entire process. Of course, you can manage cultivation manually. However, it's hard to record information in real time and share it with your colleagues and partners, particularly if you're dealing with several strains of cannabis, staggered harvests, and other mitigating factors. It's almost impossible to do the number crunching needed to look at every possible way to increase yield, and the data calculations are more vulnerable to human error. Investing in cannabis ERP software with built-in cultivation management tools takes the burden off of your shoulders. It gives you access to instant data and analytics, so you manage and adjust to anomalies to enable efficient greenhouse planning and production. And optimizing areas such as nutrient application, light requirements, etc., will also prevent overspending in the cultivation process. You're only using as much energy and supplementary materials as needed. We've already talked about the volatility of marijuana plants and how improvements to the supply chain and cultivation process can mitigate the risks of subpar or spoiled crops. But even with optimal growing conditions, sometimes things go wrong. How do you respond? Cannabis ERP software adds powerful value in this scenario because it enables you to establish, manage, and maintain relationships with multiple suppliers, giving you alternative sourcing options when needed. How? Well, by digitizing your operations, you can build an online black book of suppliers that you've vetted and approved as trustworthy. So you can see at a glance everyone you could possibly source from. And Cannabis ERP adds even further value because it enables you to understand your supply needs in greater detail and match these requirements with supplier capabilities. With ERP software in place, every order your manufacturing organization receives is recorded and managed centrally. So you have 360-degree visibility of your total workload, along with deadlines for delivery to the customer. If there's a problem with a particular crop or planting batch, you can immediately see which production orders are affected for which customers, which gives you the opportunity to do two things. The first thing you can do is change your schedule. Let's say you or your supplier has a slightly smaller crop yield than expected, but can make up this deficit within a few days. Can any of the production orders on your schedule be pushed back to when the rest of the supply is ready and still meet you or your customer's deadline? And are there any production orders that have all the ingredients readily available that could be brought forward in the meantime, so you don't lose any productivity waiting for certain raw materials to complete the harvest and drying activity or to arrive from outside sources? The second thing you can do is find suitable alternatives. I've already spoken about how Cannabis ERP enables you to manage all your supplier relationships in one place. But it's not as simple as building an online little black book. You need to know which of these suppliers has suitable materials available and the lead times for getting that crop to you so you can adjust workflows accordingly. Like with cultivation management, this can be done manually, but it's a lot of work. Cannabis ERP software enables you to create detailed supplier lists that include information such as QC results, price points, historical transactions, average lead time, risk assessment, even ranking suppliers in order of preference so you feel comfortable and confident about who to turn to next. The complete data visibility that ERP software provides makes it easy to see the impact of supply chain delays on customer orders, so you can still make profit optimizing decisions, even when your back is against the wall. Before we move into the next challenge, I wanted to point out that when you're manufacturing legal cannabis and CBD products, it's not just marijuana that your organization needs to manage and optimize. Most ingredients involved in the products you manufacture can be impacted by supply issues, and Cannabis ERP software enables you to coordinate and control availability in exactly the same ways we've discussed. Also, it's worth mentioning that ERP software enables you to manage material requirements beyond the product itself. For example, the rapid spike in e-commerce orders over the past 18 months have led to shortages of cardboard packaging in some regions. By digitally managing your cannabis product manufacturing operation, you can understand your packaging and labeling needs in real time. This way, you can make sure you have the required materials to get goods boxed up and shipped as soon as they come off the production line to deliver customer orders on time and on budget. There's nothing worse than having a delay due to packaging materials when the product itself is ready. So on to challenge number 3, meeting industry regulations. Although cannabis is going through a declassification process, the success of legal marijuana products is dependent on tight regulation. This means manufacturers like you need to provide detailed information on the strain, potency, and quantity of plants being grown and harvested. In most areas where marijuana can be legally grown, plants need to be monitored throughout the cultivation and manufacturing process using track and trace or seed to sale technology from approved software vendors like Metric or BioTrack THC. One major advantage of choosing a purpose-built cannabis ERP system over general manufacturing software is its ability to integrate with these legal compliance systems. The detailed crop information you're analyzing for proper purposes can also be used to validate quality and quantity governance. Rather than trying to manage compliance as a separate activity, Cannabis ERP software integrates with seed-to-sale technology for complete accountability. But it's not just the raw ingredients themselves that Cannabis ERP manages more effectively. You can also use ERP software to standardize production for consistent output batch by batch, and put automatic processes in place that ensure you're meeting industry regulations to reduce the number of non-compliant or spoiled batches that can't be sent to the customer. For example, you can implement testing protocols as a mandatory production requirement to mitigate the risk of cannabis-specific concerns. And if the products you're manufacturing are subject to other industry legislation, for instance, CBD gummies will need to comply with food safety and hygiene protocol, these can be built into the manufacturing process as well. Again, with the goal of increasing our quality and consistency of product, because that's what our customers expect. Cannabis ERP software includes built-in recipe and formula management features, which enables your organization to produce complex orders to consistent standards and accurately document exactly what's gone into each recipe on packaging and labeling in accordance with sector requirements. Using digital software to control recipe calculation has a direct impact on your profitability, as it standardizes processes and documents information for compliance initiatives. And product quality doesn't just reinforce your reputation, as mentioned, as a trustworthy manufacturer. It lowers material wastage and enables you to track product loss to understand the overall impact on your bottom line. On the subject of reputation, another major benefit of using Cannabis ERP technology is that the data you collect at cultivation stage can be used to track ingredients throughout the production process. The more joined up your manufacturing operation becomes, the easier it is to trace materials and ensure end-to-end accountability for everything you produce. We've talked about the positive impact this has on product standards, but it's also important to note that Cannabis ERP is a game changer when things don't go according to plan. Yes, I'm even talking about product recalls. Recalling products can be very costly, resource intensive, and potentially quite damaging to your reputation if you don't get it right. And for cannabis and CBD product manufacturers, the stakes are even higher. Consumers are only just beginning to trust our industry. What will happen if someone uses or ingests something that endangers their health because it couldn't be recalled in time? In scenarios where marijuana-based products are being used for medical treatment, for example, in people with epilepsy, consumption of non-compliant substances could have devastating consequences. Cannabis ERP software manages inventory in real time and automates transactions to provide lot tracking and traceability. So you can instantly see where a contaminated or non-compliant ingredient had been used, where those goods have been distributed, to recall them as quickly as possible. Before I move on from the subject of compliance, I want to talk briefly about the impact better regulation has on employees. When it comes to success and profitability, people are one of your biggest overheads. So you want to be sure that you're working productively, enforcing high product standards, and committed to making your business successful. Cannabis ERP software provides an important opportunity to enhance all three of these areas by making it easy for employees to operate in a safe and secure manner while focusing on the most important tasks. By digitizing your manufacturing processes, you can introduce role-based permissions. This means access to certain functions or the ability to carry out transactions are restricted to designated employees with proper authorization. A well-meaning member of staff can't accidentally do something with potentially dangerous consequences. And those people who do have full system access know they are trusted to do their job correctly. You can also use ERP technology to standardize and document general health and safety procedures to avoid common dangers and promote a safe, productive manufacturing environment, the kind of place where people want to work, reducing your staff turnover, and lowering the cost of recruitment. Emerging market opportunities are exciting, but they're also highly competitive. And as I mentioned at the start of this webinar, the potential of cannabis and CBD is attracting interest from manufacturers in many different industries. Being at the forefront of a growth market means not just seeing the opportunity, but being able to mobilize and capitalize on this opportunity. Having the tools and knowledge to launch and scale production, increasing the number of products you are manufacturing without putting your current systems and processes under unsustainable pressure. ERP software is pivotal here, as it puts data at your fingertips to demand, plan, and manage resources effectively, making sure your production output flows smoothly day to day and helping you to prepare for seasonal peaks and understand evolving customer demands longer term. As the industry continues to grow, so will the number of legal cannabis products on offer to consumers. Product diversity is good news for manufacturers, but it also creates a challenge for your organization, as you're having to manage a continually growing number of SKUs. You could be involved in the production of everything from oils, capsules, and vapes to beauty products, edibles, and infused beverages. Data intelligence is critical to helping you stay ahead of the curve to spot emerging trends and align with customer appetite. Cannabis ERP software not only delivers this level of insight, it integrates this information with your operations, so you can adapt your processes to accommodate new products. Investing in the right fit ERP technology will help you to set up your organization for manufacturing multiple products in the most profitable way. For example, scheduling jobs by product type rather than chronologically to reduce the number of production changeovers that result in equipment downtime. Cannabis and CBD is an emerging dynamic sector, which is creating some really exciting revenue opportunities for process manufacturers. And it's going to grow exponentially over the next decade. But to thrive in this $27 billion environment, you need to act now. The technology infrastructure in place to help your organization understand the nuances of working with marijuana and manage the demands of cannabis cultivation and manufacturing, so you can optimize the entire production life cycle from seed to sale to drive standards of excellence and maximize profitability. You may already be using ERP software to manage your business operations, which is great. But if this software is generic or sector agnostic, it may not deliver the specific features you need to support your transition into the cannabis industry. Cannabis-specific ERP technology has built-in features that help your business to ensure product quality, consistency, and compliance. It allows you to tightly control ingredient usage, traceability, manufacturing processes, quality, packaging, and distribution, so you can create quality goods that meet the latest industry regulations and standards. And beyond this, cannabis ERP software is critical to helping you build close-knit colleague partnerships and strong end customer relationships. So as interest in legal cannabis and CBD grows, consumers trust you to manufacture the goods they want to buy. That's very critical. Hopefully by this point, you will fully understand the benefits of choosing cannabis-specific enterprise resource planning technology. But where do you find it? Well, Aptean is already working with process manufacturers who are entering the legal cannabis and CBD market. Our cannabis ERP software is enabling organizations to stay on the ball by using built-in features to manage cultivation, production, packaging, and distribution, and to report on successes using our business intelligence tools. Aptean's cannabis ERP solution also integrates with mandatory track and trace software via API or other data exchange methods for total compliance, so you can optimize every moment from seed to sale. And get ready for what's next now. If you're interested in finding out more about opportunities in legal cannabis and CBD manufacturing, Aptean recently published a white paper on the subject. The link is on the screen now if you'd like to read it, or if you'd like to explore how cannabis ERP software can enhance your manufacturing operation, I'd love to show you how Aptean solutions work. Drop an email if you'd like to book a free demo. Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope this webinar has given you some food for thought.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for giving us a really in-depth overview of the problems facing cannabis manufacturing companies at the moment and the solution that you all are going to be providing to really help scale things up and have some real insights into the supply chain across the board. With that, I do want to welcome Amanda and Daniel visually to the virtual stage now that we've gotten through the majority of the slide deck. We're going to dive into the Q&A segment of today's program. So please, as we're diving into this, we've still got a lot of the time in the allotted hour, so don't hesitate, don't be shy, post those questions to the Q&A board. I really appreciate Bobby's engagement with the Q&A board already. So I think we're going to dive right into a question from there, and I'll leave it to Amanda to moderate questions from here. And then if we don't have any additional questions that get submitted, we will dive a little bit deeper into the results from our previously secured polls that we have collected from you all throughout the hour. So stay on the lookout for us to dive deeper into that if we need to, and post questions to the Q&A board now.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian. Yes, Dan, we did receive a question regarding the metric integration. Maybe if you could explain that a little bit more fully, because they were questioning integration across fully vertical businesses.
Yes, the metric integration question. Isn't metric fun?
Oh, yes.
It's a great question, and the answer is going to vary by what you look out in there. For us, we understand that metric doesn't allow full vertical integration. They don't have an API for every single process. Now, some of the states have changed that and have pressed so that, for instance, you can have better access to create a manifest and other portions like that. But unfortunately, the answer does vary state to state because of what metric allows via API. So right now, metric does not want to just be a pass-through system. They really are trying to keep some of those activities within their house. The manifest is, I think, the one that we hear the most often about.
Makes sense. Did that answer your question, Bobby? Okay, good. We did get confirmation. Yes. Thank you, Dan. Any other questions out there at this time? Otherwise, we can for sure bring up those polls. And
yeah, don't be shy. Post to the Q&A.
Yeah.
Post to the Q&A board or in the chat room. We'd love to have a record of your question, and that's visible and available for everybody else to upvote. But if you have a question that you wanted to just pose directly to the panel, feel free to post it in the chat room. Otherwise, I think let's dive into the results from the device usage among the greenhouse grows and see if we might be able to get any more insights either from the audience about what their current device spread and integration across their greenhouse is, or just turn it right over to Dan to dive a little bit more into what you all are currently utilizing and how that might interface with Aptean's platform.
Yeah, perfect. And I did see that we got another question through
Yes.
the chat. So I can take that one as well. It's a great question. It is, would you want the ERP system to have built-in POS or not? And I think the answer is that we are working to integrate with a number of the POS providers because a lot of them have focused heavily on the dispensary side. What we found, if we try to retrofit a POS system, we aren't as successful as some of the solutions out there. So the approach that we've taken is really to continue to monitor when we want to build in that native POS system or do it. But our approach now is to really play nicely with the POS systems that have really been garnering the market share. It's the best of breed approach, and we've seen that work well here because of how nuanced the industry is. Going back, I see that we got another one. Yes, inventory auditing. I think that's a nod to what I'll say overall auditing, correct? As we talk about an ERP system, an ERP system that's focused on process manufacturing has already had to comply with auditing, inventory auditing, quality auditing, customer audits, et cetera. So you know, for myself and the background we bring in, we come from the dietary supplement space. We're very familiar with that process and that. Yeah, so that was, I guess, a long answer to say yes, inventory auditing is built in.
And a nice segue into, device integration, especially with the managing and those raw materials and stuff.
I think it's great because as we've gone out and walked floors and talked to people and asked customers, what devices are you either using now or considering using? And that's really what led to this poll is to really go out and get from you, the participants, what are you finding that's serving you well? Tablet is at the focus that we've had and heard as well. So I'm glad I don't see surprises here. Tablet continues to be the best device. I think there's just a general push for people to try to adopt a tablet. Of course, we know tablets don't always holster as well when we're trying to use both of our hands, but it is the best device for this industry because of the amount of data that we need to interact, serve, or enter when we're out on the floor. But certainly, I think, and I see a handheld come in. Yeah, that's why I was curious because a handheld certainly in other markets are critical for the what I just mentioned. I think that vertically orientated handheld is great because of the ability to holster it and use both hands. And so, I do think there's going to be probably more customers that adopt that. But again, here it's telling us that in this segment, tablet reigns.
And it actually talking along those lines, another question about the ERP compatibility with iOS and Android or both.
Yeah, great question. It's generally both, but if you talk about handheld devices themselves, if you look at warehouse devices, they really went from a Windows to an Android operating system, and so you'll see the majority of our customers are using those Android-based apps because of just the prevalence there from the handheld side, certainly, and where the market has gone when we're talking about warehouse activities.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So thank you again for the feedback on this poll. This has been great to vet and confirm. I did expect to see a bit of an uptick in handhelds, but hasn't quite gained momentum yet.
Yeah, looks like we'll have our next poll will be coming up for us to discuss here, Dan.
So yeah, let's dive a little bit more into what systems are currently being utilized across the audience here, as well as what their biggest software and technology critical need is. Do anything stand out to you from this poll, Daniel?
I would say once again, probably what stands out is the fact that it's similar to what we've seen again, walking the floor, talking to customers. It's really difficult to have not started using a QuickBooks or similar process. It just fits that startup mode. That hey, I need a system. I'm moving beyond my checkbook. I need something, and that something is QuickBooks is they're fantastic. They are that something. That's what companies start out with. But it's good to see, of course, Word and Excel. Those are tools that everybody uses as well in this industry from enterprise level software. It's interesting, right? That as you move, what we tend to see in other industries is that where they head next after they've outgrown QuickBooks, right? And for the reason, number two is exactly the reason, is because they say, look, I can no longer thrive. I won't say survive, but I can no longer thrive with a non-integrated system. And so the goal of a integrated system, that, as we've just shared, is to bring these pieces together so that you have that central repository and management of information, and then you can use other systems to supplement if needed. But so this is actually good information.
Yes, definitely. And even in chat, we've had some saying like automation is definitely another technology critical need that they're starting to encounter.
Yeah, and integration and automation, right? I mean, you look at those two things and you talk about that. I mean, automation can be just as simply as the fact that now that I've got accounting, inventory, and production, and add cultivation as part of that operation all in one system. So now as I take one step to the next step, automation naturally occurs because I produce inventory. It's there for me to consume into production. And all of that just interplays with planning, scheduling, and everything there. Because it's integrated, it allows for automation.
Very good. And a little segue into the next question about the ERP, if it is cloud-based or AWS.
Yes. Right now we offer multiple methods of hosting, cloud being one of them.
Wonderful.
I think we're ready for the next poll. From the brief glance that I had gotten during the presentation, this one was probably the one that stood out to me as I think great to really see that everybody's approaching this, and there isn't one focal point, at least among the participants today. And that's interesting because, right, we're all looking to be the best of something to gain that competitive edge. We're going to be the best tincture manufacturer. We're going to be the best of this. That's how we gain market share, right? So I think that one was very interesting to me. I didn't quite expect how fairly even the results had come out.
I think we'll turn it back over to Daniel and Amanda to lead us in a final thought section of today's program. And if any questions come in during that, we'll pivot and make sure to address those before we close it out.
Sounds good. I would just like to say thank you all for joining today, and a special thank you to NCIA for hosting today's presentation. We've really enjoyed being an NCIA member for so many years and really are amping up our participation, and very excited for the Cannabis Business Summit and Expo. So be sure to stop by booth 913. Hope to see you all there. That would be wonderful. And a special thanks to Brian and Book for their moderating today and hosting. If, of course, any more information, anything else that comes up, please visit us at aptean.com. You'll be able to reach Dan and myself there, or our team that can answer any of your questions about cannabis ERP. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. Dana, did you want to leave the audience members with any parting words from your fantastic presentation?
I would say, I think if you're considering systems, right, if you're considering what your next move may be, I think you need to look at the integration point, right? We all know that you have a system in place today. You saw what the layout through that poll, what that looks like. You're not alone, and you're not alone also in considering what the next step may be. And I think time to look a little harder and answer that question. Get integrated, centralize those systems, because that's the best way you're going to support your growth going forward.
Yeah, transparency across all elements is definitely something that's going to help with that, and really appreciate you taking the time to really dive deep into some of these problems that are facing cannabis manufacturing companies, especially as they're attempting to scale, and how your all service solution in particular can really help solve many of those problems. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Daniel and Amanda, once again. We're going to pivot into the outro of today's program as our panelists leave the virtual stage. If any questions do pop into your head over the next few moments while we're closing today's program out, don't hesitate to post them in the chat room or the Q&A board, and we will carry on the conversation inside of that shared Slack channel over the next 2 weeks. As Daniel and Amanda mentioned numerous times, all of you all will get a copy of today's presentation slide deck. We'll post it first inside of the shared Slack channel. So if you're trying to follow up on today's conversation, make sure to follow that invitation as soon as possible. And don't hesitate to utilize the contact information that we have posted here to follow up with Amanda or Daniel directly. And then make sure to also follow all of Aptean's social channels so you can stay up to date on all of their products and developments over the next few months, leading in to Cannabis Business Summit and Expo taking place December 15th through the 17th. I really appreciated Amanda making mention of their participation and an ongoing engagement with that 7-year running national events. We're really excited to be bringing that event for the first time directly right into the heart of the Bay Area and hosting at the Moscone Center from December 15th through the 17th. If you haven't already secured your ticket, do head to the website that I posted inside the chat room, cannabisbusinesssummit.com, to learn about how you can get involved with that event in particular. I will make note that a number of companies that I saw attending today's events were not current members of NCIA. Please do make note that NCIA members receive free or heavily discounted passes to attend all of our conferences and trade shows. And surrounding Cannabis Business Summit, Alone, you can redeem over $1,500 in value surrounding tickets alone. So please do consider joining NCIA before signing up and attending us for that final year-end blowout in San Francisco. All right. And with that, thank you all so much for participating in another NCIA Industry Essentials educational webinar. Huge thank you to the members of our panel for presenting today's session from Aptean, along with our audience members, and most importantly, all of our member business owners that make our essential in driving our missions, organization's mission forward. Huge shout out once again to the sponsor for today's session, Aptean, a leader in the software space inside the cannabis industry. We really appreciate you joining us to discuss the many challenges facing the cannabis manufacturing sector and what companies have discovered as a solution. As always, we'll leave you all with this end of event credit sequence, highlighting the 30+ member businesses that participated in this afternoon session alongside our Evergreen Roundtable. If you don't see your company included in the slideshow, don't be discouraged. Head to thecannabisindustry.org/join following today's session to join the movement for a responsible and equitable cannabis industry. Enjoy, and we'll hopefully see you all again later tomorrow for another NCIA Industry Essentials educational webinar focused on our government relations work, and then hope to see you all in person December 15th through the 17th in San Francisco. Make sure to stop by Aptean's booth number 913 first when you get onto the expo floor. Thank them for their support, and we'll see you all in San Francisco then. Thank you.